School of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC 008 Information Systems for Managers for MBA program. Block 1 Information Technology for Managers. Unit 4 Networking Technologies. Part 2.
The layered architecture. Communication over a network is a complex task. The host that wants to transmit the data must know the address of the client, a route to communicate to the client. Then it must establish a connection and transmit the data. If an error occurs during the transmission, the client must detect it and inform the host so that it can retransmit the data. It will make life simple if this complex task is divided into subtasks. There are two popular models, OSI and TCP or IP. The International Standards Organization developed a framework for computer communication with an objective of providing a standard. The model provided by ISO is known as Open Systems Interconnection Reference Model, popularly known as OSI model. The OSI model has 7 layers. Each layer has a well-defined function and interface. Development and management of software has become simple due to the OSI model. The 7 layers are briefly described here. Application layer. This is the top layer and provides user with an interface to the network. The primary purpose is to provide a set of utilities for application programs. Presentation layer. This layer formats the data for presentation to the user. These layers, for instance, might compress or uncompress the data. Session layer. This layer is responsible for initiating, maintaining, and terminating the network session on behalf of an application. Transport layer. This layer is responsible for creating data units called packets from the data that is to be transmitted. Each unit is appended with enough information about its source and destination so that it can travel independently on the network without having to worry about other packets. The packets are combined at the destination into the original message. This layer makes sure that each packet has been received and without error. It may request retransmission of a packet if required. Network layer. This layer accepts messages generated by the transport layer. Its responsibility is to route packets to the destination. Data link layer. This layer is responsible for initiating the physical transmission of the data. This layer also detects and corrects errors that might have occurred during transmission. Physical layer. This layer is concerned with transmission of data bits. This layer defines rules for transmission such as voltage. The TCP/IP model consists of 4 layers: application layers, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. The network layer is equivalent to presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, and network layer of OSI model. We will briefly discuss Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol next. TCP or IP. TCP or IP is a protocol suite which consists of protocol for all 4 layers. This suite is used for intranets as well as for internet. 70% of all networks use TCP or IP. This protocol provides a reliable stream delivery and virtual connection service to the applications. The protocol ensures error-free transmission. TCP performs packetizing. Large messages are broken up into smaller units called packets. Each packet contains the source and destination port identifier. A port is a logical entity that identifies an application. The packet also contains its sequence number and error checking information. The source and destination addresses are also included in the packet. The address part needs more explanation. Each computer has some device such as network card through which computer is connected to the network. This device has an address. For instance, the Ethernet card addresses are 6 bytes long. The address is part of the hardware and cannot be changed. This address is unique in the world. The network administrator assigns a 4-byte address to each computer on the network. This address is known as IP address. This address has to be unique on the network. The way this uniqueness is ensured is quite interesting. A computer on the LAN is assigned an address by the system administrator. These addresses are 4 numbers separated by a dot. Each number is between 1 and 254. The internet addresses are usually 172.x.x.x. The system administrator maintains a table of assigned addresses and can easily ensure the uniqueness. A computer on the internet is assigned an address by the Internet Network Information Center, INTER-NIC, who again maintains a table and can ensure uniqueness. The Internet service providers can get a block of addresses from INTER-NIC and assign them to individuals or organizations. An address can be one of the following types. Type A. The first byte is fixed by the NIC. The first bit of this byte is 0. For all type A addresses, the first byte can have value between 1 and 127. The remaining 24 bits are used to identify the host on the network. An organization that has obtained a type A address may connect over 16 million computers to the internet. Type A address is no more available. Type B. The first 2 bytes are fixed by the NIC. The first 2 bits of the first byte are 10 for all type B addresses. The first byte can have value between 128 and 191. The remaining 16 bits are used to identify the host on the network. An organization that has obtained a type B address may connect over 65,000 computers to the internet. Almost 80% type B addresses have already been allocated. Type C. The first 3 bytes are fixed by the NIC. The first 3 bits of the first byte are 110 for all type C addresses. The first byte can have value between 192 and 233. The remaining 8 bits are used to identify the host on the network. An organization that has obtained a type C address may connect 254 computers to the internet. Almost 30% type C addresses have already been allocated. There are type D and type E addresses also, which are not for commercial use. An organization has the freedom to divide its computers into various clusters, and each cluster forms subnetwork, referred to as subnet. The address of each computer on a subnet has same first 3 digits. The subnet mask identifies the subnet part of the address. The subnets are connected to each other by a gateway. The IP address may be static or may be dynamic. A static address is assigned to the computers that are permanent members of the network. The computers that connect to the network through a modem are usually assigned IP address dynamically. Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol (DHCP) is part of the TCP or IP suite for dynamic addressing. A client can be assigned an IP address dynamically by DHCP server. It is not so easy to remember 4 decimal numbers for each computer that one might like to communicate with. The name that a human being can remember easily is assigned to each server. These addresses are like www.ignu.ac.in or ftp.iitk.ac.in, etc. These addresses are known as application layer addresses. A user wants to communicate to, let us say, ftp.iitk.ac.in for a file transfer. This address must be converted to IP address and then to hardware address. Domain Name Service Protocol (DNS) translates server address to IP address. There are name servers, which maintain a special database of IP addresses and application layer addresses. There are thousands of name servers across the globe. If a computer does not know the IP address for an application layer address, it sends a request to name server. Other computers can reach a computer only if its address is a part of the database of at least one name server. This is the reason no one can just assign an address to its computer and expect to be found without the knowledge of inter-NIC. Each computer can update its local database as more and more addresses from the name servers are learnt. The ARP is used for converting an IP address to the hardware address. The protocol is based on broadcast. The computer trying to send a message to a particular IP address broadcasts a message asking for its hardware address. The computer with requested IP address responds back. The requesting computer also maintains a database of IP addresses and corresponding hardware addresses. To send a message to a computer on another network, the sender needs to know a route to the destination. In static routing, the network administrator develops a routing table. In dynamic routing, the initial routing table is created by the system administrator, as in case of static routing. The system then updates its routing table depending upon the situation of the network. A message is broken up into packets. All the packets may travel independently on possibly different routes. This type of routing is known as connectionless routing. If all packets of a message are forced to travel same path, then a virtual circuit is set up. This type of routing is known as connection-oriented routing. World Wide Web. The World Wide Web, WWW, made the Internet popular among people who were not part of the academic community. The Internet became popular primarily because of WWW applications. The prime objective of WWW applications is to facilitate sharing of text and image files. The WWW applications are implemented using client or server architecture. The server runs a software package called web server and clients run web browsers. The most popular web browsers are Netscape and Internet Explorer. Popular servers are Apache, Tomcat, Netscape Server, and Microsoft Server. In order to get a page from the web, the address of the desired page is typed into the browser. The user must know the address of the page in order to request the page. The web address is like any other address. It has components such as domain and computer name. Each computer on the Internet has a unique address. Each address is assigned by one of the addresses assigning board, such as inter-NIC. These boards ensure that there are no duplicate addresses. Each address has computer name followed by domain name. Some of the well-known domains are as follows. The domain edu is reserved for educational institutes. Com is for commercial organizations. gov.in is for government departments of India. There are special software known as search engines which help a user in locating a website. Popular search engines are Google, Live.com, Alexa.com, Baidu.com, Bing or MSN, Yahoo, Ask.com, DuckDuckGo.com, EcoAsia. The user can run a search engine and type some keywords, and the search engine locates many websites which have documents containing the keywords. The user may decide to then visit one or more sites. The sites listed by a search engine may run into millions and most of the sites may be irrelevant. Usually, the top few sites are most relevant. The search engine maintains a database of all the websites and this database is updated frequently. File Transfer Protocol (FTP) enables a host to send and receive files over the network, intranet, as well as internet. In a file transfer, there is a client that requests the transfer and there is a server which entertains the request. There are many graphical FTP clients available these days, example, GFTP on Linux and WSFTP on Windows. A file transfer can be either closed or anonymous. In a closed file transfer requires a valid login or password, which is given by the system administrator. An anonymous file transfer can be initiated by anyone. For a file transfer under FTP, a virtual connection between client and server is established to transmit control information. Another virtual connection is established for data transfer. Telnet. The Telnet application enables a user on one computer to log on to another computer on the network. A virtual connection between the client and the server is established. The connection is used to transmit data. The protocol gives client an option to emulate graphics terminal. Email. Electronic mail is one of the oldest applications of Internet, and it has become the most common way of communication. Email can be used to send a message to an individual or to a group of people. Text, formatted document, or an image in any format can be sent via email. The email uses client or server architecture. Clients are very advanced and provide amazing facilities. The user can create named folders and can save selected messages into the folder. It is almost like filing letters into a cabinet. A message can be sent to one person and a copy can be sent to another person. The message can be sent with a request for an acknowledgement. A message can be forwarded, deleted, or replied to. There are many protocols for email server as well as client. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol (SMTP) and Post Office Protocol (POP3) together form a complete mail transfer protocol. An SMTP server receives email and stores them. The client can use POP3 to fetch and store emails in the individual local mailbox. The SMTP server and POP3 client combination is quite popular these days. A workstation running POP3 can dynamically access the SMTP mail server and retrieve the mails on it. A POP3 client makes a connection to the server either on demand or on regular intervals. If there is a mail, it is retrieved and the connection is aborted. POP3 seems inadequate if user would like to have the freedom to access his mailbox from anywhere. Internet Message Access Protocol (IMAP) allows a client to access and manipulate mailboxes on an SMTP server as local mailboxes. The mail stays on the server and user can access his mailbox from any computer running IMAP. When you install a new computer on the network, you must obtain an IP address. Client or server architecture. In the days of mainframes, the central server used to be a powerful machine. The software and the data both were stored on the mainframe. There used to be a set of terminals that people used to connect to the server. This simple architecture is known as host-based architecture. Along the passage of time, the terminals were replaced by computers, which were not as powerful as the servers, but were more powerful than the terminals. The server became the file and database server, which stored the data, but the application software ran on the client computers. As the applications became complicated, the network traffic increased and people started looking for an alternative. The client or server architecture was then proposed and it became very popular. In the client or server model, a machine that provides a service is called a server. The machine that makes use of the service is called a client. For instance, server may store the database of an organization. A client connects to the database server for its needs. The client and the server work independently in a cooperative manner. The architecture facilitates the addition of a new client or server to the network. A server usually can handle many clients simultaneously. Therefore, Most servers are powerful machines such as mainframes, mini computers, workstations, etc. The clients need not be as powerful as the servers, and they usually are not. The clients and servers are on the network, but each server is assigned one or more specific tasks. For instance, a file server is used to manage user data files. A network server may control network connections. A database server stores the data of the organization and provides different levels of access to different clients. The servers provide their services through human-readable names and well-known ports. When the client makes a request, it is not aware of the physical location of the server or the processes of the server. The server details are hidden, but services are transparent. This is known as service transparency. It is an important feature of client or server architecture. A request made by a client may involve data access, data processing, and result rendering to the client. The data access, the processing, and the presentation can all be done by the server, or they can be shared between the server and the client. The client or server implementation is called distributed presentation when all three components are on the server and the client has part of presentation logic. In remote presentation, the data storage and management and application logic is handled by the server, but the presentation logic is handled by the client. In distributed logic arrangement, the data storage and management is handled by the server, the presentation is handled by the client, and the application logic is shared between the server and the client. In remote data management model, the data storage and management is the responsibility of the server and the other two functions are handled by the client. In distributed database model of the client or server architecture, the client handles part of the data storage and management of application logic and presentation. The server complements data storage and management job of the client. A client is called a thin client if it only handles the presentation job. A client is a fat client if it supports data storage, application processing, and presentation. Client or server architecture is scalable. A new server can be added to the network. An application or part of it can be moved to another machine. The architecture supports heterogeneous hardware and software. One system may run MS Server and another one can run Linux, and they can form a client-server pair. The failure of a network segment or a computer does not bring the entire system down. The client or server architecture reduces the unnecessary network traffic. The required part of the data stored on the server is transmitted to the client over the network. The file and data management is easier because only a single copy of data is stored at the server. The server controls the access, and usually different people have different level of access. Cloud architecture. Cloud architecture has emerged as technology components that are combined to build a cloud. All the resources in a cloud are pooled through virtualization technology and shared across a network. The components of cloud architecture include a front-end platform, the client or device used to access the cloud, one or more back-end platforms, servers and storage, a cloud-based delivery methodology, a network to connect cloud clients, servers, and storage. Together, these technologies create a cloud computing architecture on which applications can run, providing end users with the ability to leverage the power of cloud resources. A network to connect cloud clients, servers, and storage. Together, these technologies create a cloud computing architecture on which applications can run, providing end users with the ability to leverage the power of cloud resources. The concept of cloud computing is, however, very similar to mainframe computing, popular since the 1960s, where centralized servers ran applications that were accessed by dumb terminals connected to a private network. Cloud computing architecture enables organizations to reduce or eliminate their reliance on premises server, storage, and networking infrastructure. Organizations adopting cloud architecture often shift IT resources to the public cloud, eliminating the need for an on-premises servers and storage. This reduces overhead cost and the need for IT data center, cooling, and power requirements. Instead, the overhead cost is replaced them with a monthly IT expenditure. With mutual agreement, the payment terms may be even quarterly, half-yearly, or annually. This shift from capital expenditure to operating expense is a major reason for the popularity of cloud computing today. There are 3 major models of cloud architecture that are driving organizations to the cloud. Each of these has its own benefits and key features. Software as a service, SaaS. SaaS architecture providers deliver and maintain applications and software over the internet, thus it eliminating the need for deploying the software locally. SaaS applications are typically accessed via a web interface. Software solution in terms of ERP, SAP, CRM, SCM, PMS, and others, say related to hospital and patient management, virtual meetings, and conducting training programs online are possible at lower cost. Platform as a service, PaaS. In this cloud model, the service provider offers a computing platform and solution stack, often including middleware, as a service. Organizations can build upon that platform to create an application or service. The cloud service provider delivers the networks, servers, and storage required to host an application, while the end user oversees software deployment and configuration settings. Infrastructure as a service, IaaS. This is the simplest form of cloud architecture. In this form, a third-party provider eliminates the need for organizations to purchase servers, networks, or storage devices by providing the necessary infrastructure. In turn, organizations manage their software and applications and only pay for the capacity in terms of servers and storage they need at any given time towards hardware. There are many IT service providers to support cloud architecture and provide the facility to organizations. One such example is VMware. It provides a unified approach to build, run, and manage traditional and modern applications on any cloud. As a single platform, VMware functions across all applications and multiple cloud environments, helping organizations to migrate and run applications seamlessly. VMware allows enterprises to create application modernization and multi-cloud strategies that support cloud operations across a multi-cloud landscape. VMware offers a broad set of capabilities to build, run, and manage modern apps on any cloud through a rich platform as a service, PaaS layer. VMware also enables better management of multi-cloud architecture with comprehensive visibility across Amazon Web Services, AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google, and Oracle Public Clouds, Kubernetes, and VMware-based private and hybrid clouds. Summary. This unit has given you an introduction to the data communication networks and their importance to an organization. The components of a network are described, which are same for all types of networks. Various types of networks were introduced. A network operating system is also an integral part of a network. The protocols OSI model and TCP or IP are the main protocols, which were described in detail. The TCP or IP is a suite of protocols which has application layers protocol, network layer protocols, data link layer protocols, and physical layer protocols. The application layer protocols and network layer protocols were described in some detail. The client-server architecture and cloud architecture were also explained.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program, course code MMPC 008. Information Systems for Managers. Course Coordinator Professor Anurag Saxena, School of Management Studies, IGNOU. Voiceover by Renuka. Edited by Ruchi Sharma. Program assisted by Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.